Hello everyone, welcome to 3ddesignacademy.com. In this lesson, we will continue with part 150 of the Lamborghini Aventador project. Okay, so continuing on from the previous lesson, I'm going to be working in this area here. Now, there's a couple of things that I have to do. First of all, the offset value is a little bit different and this area has to be filled. So let's take a look at what I need to do. Alright, first of all, let's just copy and paste the surface over here, and I'm just going to fill this void. So I'm just going to untrim like that. And I think where it ends is pretty good. And I'm just going to trim this piece over here like this. Now, I think I'm going to just extend this piece over here. Actually, there might be a bit of a draft. That is going to make this a little bit more complicated. In fact, I think I'm just going to offset this one over here. Now, I don't think there is any picture that actually shows how this area looks. So I'm not going to, well, if this is the case, okay, so I think here's what I'm going to do. Instead of making this difficult, I'm going to make this a separate part. So I'll just put a fillet here and I'll just offset it a little bit to make this a separate piece. Now, I'm not quite sure if this would be a separate piece, but if this wasn't, I would have to introduce, I would have to rework this. So I think this would be a quicker way in order to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick chain tool, use a pick chain tool to pick all of these. And for this one, I'm just going to intersect it with the offset surface. So first of all, let me just untrim all of this, and I'm going to just extend this side if it'll extend like that. And let's just go ahead and extend all of these over here. So I'm going to say untrim. Oh, okay. So it looks like those all need to be reworked. So I'm going to say extend. I'm going to pick chain select. I'm just going to extend it like that. Just a little bit. And it's okay if it's going to untrim. Well, looks like I have to rework all of them. And actually, you know what? Oh, well, too late now. Okay, so I'm just going to delete the COS over here. And let's just rework all of these corners. This is actually a shame because I have to rework all the corners. Now the reason why this happens is because of the projection, how it's projected. So you just have to redo it. There's not much you can do. Alright, so I'm just going to untrim this piece over here, get rid of the COS, and let's just reproject. I'm going to trim this piece over here. This one has to be redone. So I'm going to say untrim. Okay, so that curve and surface, I'm going to delete. I'm going to extend this one. Why wouldn't it extend? Let's try that again. There we go. I'm just going to check on this side. Okay, so that one was relatively quick. Okay, so let's untrim this surface over here all the way through, delete the COS, and let's just reproject like that. Okay, so this one, I think it's a little bit short, so I'm going to redo that one too, like that. And on this side, let's go ahead. Okay, so this one actually looks good. So just going to trim that piece. This one looks good too. So let's go ahead and, oh, this one doesn't. So I'm going to get rid of the COS over here, reproject. Okay, so I think this one has a little bit of trouble too. Okay, so let's go ahead and reproject that one. And untrim this one. To reproject here. Okay, that's good. This one's good. And let's just go all the way around to make sure that everything, oh, okay, so this one is not. All right, on trim, delete the construction history. Get rid of this one. I'm going to reproject. I'm going to trim this side. Like that. And I'm going to reproject this. Trim that side. Okay, so I think I'm about done. Okay, so now I'm going to just get rid of all the COS over here. Those are not needed. I'm going to turn the CV structures off. So what I'm going to do is make it a little bit easier. I'm going to pick everything. I'm going to deselect this one. I'm going to say intersect, and I'm going to pick the offset surface. Oh, I don't know why I missed this one over here, but let's do that again. So I'm just going to project like this, and I'm going to say trim. Trim over here, and let's just trim this piece out. And let's just go all the way around and trim all the loose pieces. Like that. This one's good. This one over here. Okay, so I think that's done. All right, so I'm just going to say delete the construction history over here, and this side over here I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to introduce a separate panel. So first of all, I'm just going to separate these two parts. So let me just grab this one. I'm going to say offset. I would say it's about 3 mils. Let's take a look. Actually, I would prefer this to match this one over here, so I think I might just do that. Well, I mean, yeah, I think it might be that might be a better idea. Okay, so I'm just going to separate the two, and let's go ahead and untrim this one over here all the way through. Now, this is technically a non-moving part, so I think doing it this way should be fine. Okay, so let me just get rid of all the carbon surfaces here, and I think I'm just going to align this piece over here like that, and I'm going to say push your influence to max, blending on, extra series of 1, blend factor of 0, so that whatever this moves, everything is going to follow. The only problem is the CV structure over here, but since I'm actually using only this part, maybe it'll be okay. Right, so another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, actually separate these two, and I'm going to offset this one also. So I'm going to just offset it a mil in order to trim it. So 1 mil over here, and for this one, well, I think a non-NUV, just a regular offset should work. And let's just go ahead and separate this like that. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the construction history over here. This side I'm going to try and match. So let's grab the intersect tool over here, and I'm just going to extend it just a little bit. I'm going to match it over here, and I'm going to introduce a fillet between the two. So for this one, I'm just going to say 2 mils should be fine. I'm going to say edge line over here at the bottom, and I'm going to say extend at the top. Actually, you know what? I think default might be okay. I don't like the okay, all right. There's not much I can do with the span over here, but let's just leave it. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to extend this one, and I'm going to just trim off everything. But before I do that though, let's just take a look. Okay, so I think here's what I'm going to do. This actual piece doesn't really need to be that long, so I'm just going to trim it off by 1 mil, and I'm going to use that in order to, I'm not going to introduce a filler over here. To be honest, it's not visible, so I don't think it's necessary. And to be honest, I don't even know if it's, if this was a separate part, I don't even know if it's, would actually be there. So I'm just going to leave it like that. And let's just go ahead and make this, well, I think the 2 mil flat would be good. So I'm just going to trim this one over here. And now let's go ahead and trim this one off. Okay, so I'm going to grab these over here. I'm going to trim it against this one. I'm going to trim here, here, and here. And let's just go ahead and trim this one. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to delete the construction history first. I'm going to duplicate this edge like that. Actually, you know what? Let's just make it a degree 2. So instead of duplicate edge, I'm going to say fit curve. That looks good. I'm going to delete the construction history over here. I'm going to snap this one over here like this. And let's go ahead and project. Okay, so I'm just going to extend in this one over here. And I'm going to just trim this one off like this. Okay, so I would say that's good enough. Now, this one, I'm going to just leave it hanging for a little bit because I don't know what I'm going to do over here. Okay, so I would say that's pretty good. Now, I know it is hard edge, but, well, if you don't like hard edge, you can always fill it up, but this is also a hard edge. And depending on the part, you actually need the hard edge, especially around the parting line. So I think that leaving it as is perfectly fine. All right. So let's move on to different parts of the vehicle and see what I need to do. Actually, I think I'm going to work on this area over here and plus this one. Okay, so right now you'll see that this is a separate piece. So, well, actually it's supposed to be a separate piece, but right now it's just crashing into each other. So I'm going to have to get that resolved. If you look at this one, actually it's really hard to take a look. I think there is something going on, but it does. I think it needs to be separate pieces. So here's what I'm going to do. Actually, let's take a look. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a gap. So let's go ahead and put one there. So I think this one is actually pretty big, the gap size. So I think for consistency's sake, I think I'm just going to leave it like that. So let's do this. I'm just going to intersect this piece with this one, and I'm going to intersect this piece. Actually, this needs to be rounded. So here's, yeah. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, I wonder if it's going to be just easier if I just offset this. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to grab these ones. Actually, you know what? That's going to be a little bit complicated. Okay. I'm going to offset these, and I'm just going to offset them 3 mils, and it's going to be NUV. Now the only problem, well, actually that offset didn't offset too badly over there. Okay, so the only thing that I probably need to do is make sure that this one is okay. And I'm going to offset this one over here 3 mils also. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, let's resolve this one. So I'm going to untrim this side over here. No, actually I don't need to untrim that one. I'm just going to trim it back. I do need to extend this though. I believe, well, let's look at the setting. Yeah, the gap distance is 3. Okay, so that's fine. All right, so what I need to do is I just need to line this up. So I'm going to say copy and paste. I'm going to untrim this side over here like that. And I'm just going to extend it over here like that. And I'm going to be using this piece over here in order to align the surface. So let me just... So there's a possibility that the gap will be a little bit small, but I think that should be okay. We'll have to find out. All right, so I'm just going to untrim this all the way through. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to align this piece over here. I'm going to just project it online. I'm going to say probably normal should be fine. It looks like it's a little bit long, so I'm just going to say shrink to fit. And I'm going to basically use this as a curved surface, you know, to roll this around. All right, so this one, on the other hand, has to be untrimmed. I wonder if these are supposed... No, these are not the same surface. But that's okay. I believe they're continuous, curvature continuous, so that should be okay. Let's just check. Yeah, that's curvature continuous, so that should not be a problem. And what I'm going to do is, well, let's offset this one as well. Well, not exactly an offset, but I'm just going to extend. And basically, I'm going to be using this in order to create a COS. Okay, so I'm just going to grab these surfaces over here. I'm going to just intersect like this. This piece over here is part of that one. Okay, so that needs to be done too. I'm going to say intersect over here like this. And I'm actually going to trim this one over here. All right, so that's looking good. And I'm going to be doing the same thing over here. So I'm just going to offset this 3 mils. Same thing. And I'm going to be using that as the flange, like that. Okay, so those, I'm just going to delete construction history and I'm going to hide it for a little bit. And basically, I'm going to be using this in order to create the flange. So let me just grab these. Let me grab this one as well. And hopefully, this will be okay. So first of all, let me just delete the construction history over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, let's see. I think for this one, I'm going to actually use this. So it's a flange tool. It is like the panel gap, except it's just one-sided. So for draft, I'm going to say draft angle of 3. G1 circular radius will be 3 mil. No, radius will be 2 mils. And create flange, sweep angle. No, the flange is parting line. Wait, I don't know why this is 3. Well, let's try it. Okay, so I'm just going to run it. Okay, it needs to go the other way and this way. And let me just make sure the draft, there is some draft on the wall. Let's go to top view. No, this doesn't. So I don't know why this says 3 degrees, but whatever. Okay, so I'm going to introduce a draft angle of 3, like that. The length will be 1, create flange, and that's perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to check. Yes, there is now a little bit of draft over here. And if I extend this, it should match over here. So let's just check that. So I'm going to turn merge off. I'm going to snap it like that, and that's perfect. Okay, so that's good. All right, so let's do the same thing over here. I'm going to just introduce a flat over here like this. And now this one should work. No, I don't want draft. I wonder if I can just apply. Oh, there we go. So the options are all staying like that. And let's just make sure the direction is good. That's not good. I don't like that. So I don't like how many spans it has. So I'm going to turn on Bezier. Oh, there we go. That's much better. Okay. The only thing here is I should probably introduce a corner over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to delete the construction history over here. And I think these should be all compatible. So I know that I extended all this, but I should be able to trim and just trim it. So that should not be difficult. So first of all, let me just trim this one so that I can actually work this out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just extend this piece over here. Chain select should be turned off. Okay, and I'm just going to turn merge back on. I'm going to extend this piece like that. Okay, so this one I'm going to extend. Unfortunately, I think that might be a little bit too short. Now with the fillet, I think that should be fine, but just in case, I'm just going to extend this one. And I'm actually going to extend this one as well. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so first of all, let me just delete the construction history here. And I'm going to put a fillet between these. This one is going to have to be it's a corner piece, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to say, well, actually edge line should be fine. I know that's going to create a little bit of weird shape, but that should be okay. And let's run a fillet. So I'm going to untrim this back again. And it's just going to be a radius of G1 circular, radius of 2. It's going to default on both sides. I'm going to pick this one over here. And I'm going to pick this one over here, like this. And let's just run it. And that looks perfect. Okay, so that's good. And let's just go ahead and trim everything out. So first of all, I'm going to get rid of the these COS over here. And let's start with that. So first of all, I'm going to grab this one. And I'm going to project here using normal. And I'm going to do one over here. I'm going to trim this one. Oh, well, not this one. I'm going to trim here. And I'm going to trim here. And now let's do the same thing over here. I'm going to trim. And I'm going to trim this one over here. That looks good. I'm going to trim this side. I'm going to trim this side. And that looks pretty nice. And now I'm going to go ahead and reproject using these surfaces. And that should work. Okay, so trim that piece over here. And this curve, I think this is the only section that needs to be done. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. Now it should be almost a perfect match. Looks like the flange. Oh, okay. So there's a copy and pasted flange. So that one I can leave. So let's go ahead and finish this one. So I'm just going to project a normal. Now it should be a match. Is it? Let's take a look. So I'm going to trim here and I'm going to trim here. And let's just check the continuity. It is tangent. So, well, it is at least tangent. I don't know if it's supposed to extend a little bit more. Well, it looks like it's right on the spot. Yeah, it's on the spot. So I'm going to, I think that's a pass. Okay, so I just need to trim this part out. Well, although I'm starting to think that this might be a little bit too big. Because, well, you know what? That does look huge. So I might make some adjustment because while I do think that this is supposed to be a 3 mil gap, well, actually it could be a 1 mil. No, this one I think it's totally fine as is. The only thing is I might shrink this a little bit because right now I think the gap might just looks a little bit too big. But I think I'm going to continue with that in the next tutorial. Yeah, that looks funky. Okay, so I'm going to try to shrink this as much as possible. In fact, I might just offset these surfaces and just use this as a flange. I'll have to think about this because, yeah, I think that might be a better idea because, well, as much as technically I think this should be okay, it just looks ridiculous. So I'm just going to make some adjustments in that part. All right, that's it. We'll continue in the next one. Okay, so that is it for part 150. We will pick this up in the next video, and thank you guys for watching.